So, our practice today to take with you moving forward as another tool and another access point to figuring out, oh, wait, this may not be me, is the question of, is this who I am? And just watching and seeing what unravels, what happens, what get curious. The whole point is to start to recognize that you play the human character, but you are something so much bigger and that both exist simultaneously. That there is no secret sauce, there is no high frequency vibe you get to, there are no positive thoughts you need to feel, there is no trauma you need to heal in order to recognize that you are currently, right here, right now, the most amazing, incredible soul while you play this human, right? Um, Haley, can you ask your question in the Q&A tomorrow if you're going to be here, just so that I can spend more time on it because it's a little bit of a more intense question, but I would love to be able to answer your question. So, um, even if you can't be there live, can you go maybe just enter your enter your question in on the chat box or send me an email and send your question because I would like to be able to answer it. It just requires a little bit more focus and concentration than right now. Okay, did anything come up for anyone around this practice? Does the soul guide the human what to think? No, never, Joe. The soul just watches. It's kind of like you're watching a movie. Can you tell the actor what to think and feel and see? Mm-mm. You're just watching. So the soul just watches. The soul also guides through resonance, right? And so what happens is that as this human character that thinks it's all of this, that it isn't, when it starts to quiet and to move into body, to get down into the body, to live in body, it connects to soul more and more. The more it embodies, the more it hears, the more it sees, the more it feels. And as it starts to see and feel and hear more, it recognizes that it believes that it's all these thoughts and emotions and sights and all of it. And as it begins to recognize that it thinks it's all of this, it starts to question, well, is this really who I am? And what arises is this essence of soul, if we can pay attention to it. And soul or spirit or God or source or awareness, again, it doesn't matter the word, it's the same vibrational tone. It starts to arise. And it's this natural coming home space where you're just like, this feels right. I know I'm something beyond this human experience. It's here, it's inside the body, always has been. It's also outside the body. It's also out into the quantum space, quantum field. It's everything that ever was, is, and will be. But what happens is that you start to come in and then the soul starts to guide you. So you start feeling resonance, what feels right. I feel guided to do this. I feel guided to slow down. I feel guided, right? And so the human aspect that plays out and makes the choices is either following resonance, divine will, or following free will, which is its own egoic uh, uh, centric way in which it's managed, controlled, and dealt with the human experience and human life. And it is now safe for me to be in blankness. I love the blankness. I absolutely love the blankness. I had very few thoughts. Yeah, you'll start to notice, especially if you've been doing a line for a while, that you go into practice and there's nothing there. And you're just kind of chilling and relaxing and calm. And There's no thoughts really. There's no emotions that you're necessarily feeling. You start to realize that's your natural state. So the natural state that soul sort of resides in is just this openness of like, what wants to come in? What wants to be here? And when you start to kind of just open, like your hands are in the air, you don't care, show me, not as much arises because you're not attached. You're not freaking out. You're not like, what's going to come in? What do I have to look at? Oh my God. Do I have issues? Is there something I need to figure out? Like, I can't stand this. This needs to be gone. You're just like, what's totally open to whatever's going to be in arising right now. And then very little arises. Intuitive nudges come from soul. You could also call it higher self. You could call it spirit. The labels really don't matter. It's this essence, and it speaks to you through intuition. That's how it gets your attention. That's how it guides you, which is also in body. So the more that you come into the body, the more you will feel intuition and resonance, the more you will feel like you're being guided by something other than the you that you've always thought that you were. This helped me to think through how I want to deal with a relationship. Oh, that's so interesting, Lori. I love that. The little gap realizing between soul and human is freeing. It really is. When you start to kind of ask the question, right? Is this who I am? It pops you for a moment. You pop because you're like, wait, what do you mean, is this who I am? Of course, this is who I am. And then it's like, but is this who you are? And there's this gap, this moment of gap where the you that you have always thought yourself to be attached to all of it stops for a moment and says, am I on a stage? Right. And then you look around and you're realizing you're on a stage. And then you're like, well, so who's actually orchestrating this whole thing? And then you look and you see in the audience, there's this soul that's you watching you. And then you realize that's you. And then the more that you turn and look at soul and soul's watching you, there's a merging that happens. And then you go back to the dream. You start to play the role again. And you get caught up and soul's just watching. And you're like, is this who I am? Oh, wait, hold on a second. Any tool that you use that we've done so far will pop you. I'm safe, that pops you. I'm aware of, that pops you. This is allowed to be here, that pops you. Every practice thus far in Align 8.0 will pop you. Popping you means bring into your awareness that you're on a stage. And the freedom of realizing you're actually on a stage playing a role is that you get to realize, wait a second, then who am I? And then you start realizing you are something so much bigger inside of you. And then you start to get curious with what that is. So you're bringing light to not only all of the things you think and feel so that you can recognize you're on a stage, but then you're bringing light to who you actually are while you're on the stage, which is this incredible soul or spirit or light, whatever you want to call it. And then the merging or integration begins. The little me thought it wasn't who I am. Soul got a big laugh at watching my ego trying to convince itself that it is who I am. Yeah, you start to kind of have these conversations between the you that really wants to define itself through that character and soul that's just lovingly saying, really? Are you really that character up there playing that role? You're like, yes, I am. Okay, keep going. I will. I will keep playing this role. Thank you very much. Okay, I'll be here waiting. Yeah. And at some point, you relax and say, what does that mean if this isn't who I am? What's the point? Well, the point of recognizing that it's not who you are is that you let go of the tightness and the resistance and the restriction to what you're going through. You start to allow it more and you start to move through life with a little bit more ease and grace. There's a opening that happens, a relaxing into, a letting go of, a surrendering into, and you're no longer a victim to what's happening on the stage. Now there's more freedom, there's more empowerment, there's way more choice. And life becomes a little bit more fun. It becomes, you're not arguing with people as much. You're not trying to prove your point as much. You're not letting people take advantage of you as much because you realize, how do I want to be in this, on this stage? What do I want to, how do I want to play this? You're not robotically just being that role and bitching and moaning about all the horrible things that are happening to you, but instead you're looking at it as this amazing, miraculous moment that creates another moment, that creates another moment, that creates the entire movie that you're in. And there cannot be a mistake in the movie because the movie is just going from one scene to the next. And so your opportunity right now is to realize how you want to be in each scene instead of bitching about the scene you're in. All you're doing when you bitch and moan about the scene that you're in is just perpetual. You're just sitting down and creating that scene to last a lot longer. It is what it is. Whatever's in your life right now, that is what it is. That's here. Now you get to realize, how invested am I in the thoughts I have around this experience, the emotions I have around this experience, and what happens when I start to notice what I'm in that I don't like, that I want to get out of, that isn't fair, shouldn't be here, blah, blah, blah. That's just here. It's part 76 of the entire movie, you know? What if you realize that this is not you? That how you think about this situation, how you feel around this situation, how you're reacting and responding around this situation isn't you. And then what happens? Do you get more angry and frustrated because you really want to identify as the character? You really want to hold tight to these experiences? You want to argue for the limitations of it? That's okay. What happens if you say, maybe this isn't me? Maybe there's something greater playing out here. What does that mean? What does it look like if I were to invite in this soul that knows that everything is just divinely guided and designed? And there's something greater for me here, that in every moment there is an opportunity and a gift for me to see that I can be in anything and I can experience more freedom in it, more choice in it, more openness in it. Do I relax a little bit more? Do I stop getting so angry around certain people's reactions or responses and wanting them to change, wanting them to be different, wanting them to understand me, wanting whatever it is? We're all in different places in our lives, but there can be a real big breakthrough when you start realizing, and this takes a lot of practice, like constant reminders and practice. Is this who I am? And is this really who I am? So you don't want to take away from the experience of being human. It's the most beautiful thing. The movie you're creating, that you've created your entire life, whether you've enjoyed it or not, is the most beautiful thing. And what you are gifting yourself with in this moment in your evolution and in your human journey is the recognition that you're playing a role. Do you understand how profound this is? That this is what most souls, when they incarnate, hope for, is that the character that ends up playing the role of human, that is constructed by thought and emotion and behavior, that it's quiets enough to move back into body, to settle down and to hear and to recognize soul. And so that there can be this beautiful co-creation of soul and character walking through the rest of the human life. And that is when you will find yourself in um, the highest aligned state possible in the human experience. And it's what you are courageously crawling into and crawling towards and diving deep with in every day of your of this practice, whether you're frustrated, whether you're ecstatic, whether you're in bliss, whether you're calm, whether you're annoyed, whether you're whatever it is, it doesn't matter what human experience you're having with it. It's the greatest opportunity that you are gifting yourself. So we can get caught up in, I don't like this practice, Lori. It made me feel very unsafe. I didn't like this practice. I was so uncomfortable. I felt all these emotions I haven't felt in a long time. I loved this one because of dot, dot, dot. That's still the character that's playing the role, thinking that it is all of this. And it all gets to be here because it's bringing you deeper into who you have always been, the integration of this incredible soul that's always sitting, always watching, always waiting, always available, and ready to guide all day long, guide you into the highest version and expression of your human experience. So throughout your day, just keep asking yourself, even if this doesn't make sense right now, okay, or there's resistance to it, is this who I am? And just there will be many things that you are like, yeah, that's who I am. Okay. Just keep asking the question, is this who I am? Watch what you argue for, meaning I'm going to defend that this is who I am. And pay attention to that because none of what you are experiencing is you. None of it. It's impossible. But what you're gifting yourself is the greatest opportunity to see what you are still holding on to as you. We all do it. I have tons of things where I'm like, yeah, that's who I am. Is it really who you are, Lori? Well, let me sit with this for a second. Hold on. And then I have to like peel apart. Is this who I am? Do I really? And then there's other experiences I have where I'm like, is this who you are, Lori? No, of course not. It's just the role I'm playing. Wow, look at this role you're playing. You're so incredible. You're playing Lori Ladd. You really think it's who you are, but you have to. I have to have my little pieces of paper where I'm creating my plan for the next 6 months and my Kenya retreat, right? Like I've got my dates, I got my dates of when these things have to happen and the new logo I'm creating, and right? Like all of that is Lori, the role, the character, and I love her. I love that she is writing on the wall the things that she wants to do. I think it's incredible. I love that she wants to do the water fasts. I love that she thinks that she's not good enough in certain areas of her life. This is the lens you want to start to use. So it's not about getting rid of being human. It's not about like, oh, I shouldn't have these human experiences. Like, no, you should be doing every human thing because you're human. You're having a human experience. Be in it. Have it, devour it. It's like standing up on stage and then you're bitching and moaning about the fact that you shouldn't be on the stage. You shouldn't be in this character. Like, well, if I'm soul, then I shouldn't be feeling these things. I shouldn't be desiring these things. I shouldn't be, you know, acting this certain way. No, this is called the human experience. But watch what starts to happen when you start watching yourself in the human experience. Changes everything. So please recognize, especially if this is your very first align, this is not about getting rid of being human. This is not about finding yourself in some enlightened state where that's so low vibe to do that. Or that's just so like, no, you don't do that anymore. Don't you realize that you just don't plan things anymore? Or you really just shouldn't have negative thoughts. Or, those, all the emotions that you're feeling that literally just like bog you down, you shouldn't be having those anymore. You shouldn't really be talking about like that nonsense that doesn't really, that is the spiritual ego, right? Like, really? Come on. Just be you, meaning just be the character. And if you watch yourself as soul more and more, soul's just enjoying it. Like, wow, what else? And what ends up happening is the more that you are really just watching this human character, realizing that you're in a human play, the more you will do things from that more aligned state, and you'll soften into life more, right? The continual desire or belief that you have to be a certain way, that it needs to feel a certain way, it should look a certain way. That's the character on stage trying to make that stage perfect, trying to make that stage. I always pray when I hear the sounds. Um, it's the characters trying to like, you know, make it should only be a certain way. I should only have certain emotions. I should only do certain behaviors. You know, you'll be much freer when you just allow whatever to be much freer. And so the key here, my friends, is that you look at how you are human, right? I look at all the things in which I do, the candles I light, the phone I have, the practice we do every day, and then you see it as the human role more and more. You realize you're this human. Off you go. And you realize there's this incredible soul that's watching, that's enjoying, that's participating, that's coming through, that's coming out. And it comes through and it comes out by allowing what is, by um, accepting, by choosing, um, by seeing the gift in everything. Is there anyone here that is just really struggling with this whole concept, this whole idea? Um, it's frustrating them. Um, they don't understand. They can't quite, they're just, it's just been a little challenging or difficult. I'd really love to hear from you in the chat box if you are open to sharing. I'd like to just um, dive in with someone that may be having a challenging time for the next couple minutes that we have. If there is anyone, there may not be anyone. Um, Before we get going. Yes, I'd rather be anything other than playing the role of Kelly. It's a great awareness to have because unfortunately, this is the role you're playing, right? And so you're on stage and I'm on stage and you're really, really struggling. You don't want to be in it. And so the practice for you would be, can you see another aspect of you called soul watching you, Kelly? I would ask that. I'm finding it hard to grasp today's concept, Betty. What part of it is challenging? And Kelly, you don't have to be connected to soul right now. You already are, but it's okay if you don't feel it. Um, so that's a thought you're having, a belief that I want to be connected to soul, but I'm not. Do you know that to be absolutely true? Do you know with 100% certainty that you're not connected to soul? Answer that question. Um, you don't know with 100% certainty exactly. What if you were connected to soul right now? How would you feel? Okay, Ursula, that sounds great. This one was a little challenging. I always say, no, it's not, because I know intellectually that it's not, but I feel like I'm bypassing how I really feel about each situation that I asked the question about. Yeah, that's a real important piece, Tony, to bring in, that it can feel like a bypassing. And so you definitely don't want to bypass, right? You want to acknowledge, like, wow, what happens is there's a real fine line between surrendering into and just like, wow, this is incredible, and bypassing. Okay. Because what bypassing does is it separates you from experiencing and really feeling what's happening and like just vulnerably being in it. But when you start to actually realize that you're playing the role and this isn't who you really are, you're honoring and you're allowing yourself to be human, to really to believe that the new logo that Lori's going to create is really important and it has to be perfect. And the stress that I feel over the things I'm doing right now, and that's here. And I feel it. I feel the stress in my body. I feel the overwhelm. I feel the whatever that is, it's here. And then simultaneously, when I say, is this who I am? It's like, no, I know it's the character I'm playing, right? And so the more I ask it, the more I'm like, no, I know it's not who I am, but I'm in this character. I'm invested in this character, and this is what I'm doing as the character. But I know that it's not me. So I'm starting to hold. Well, I've been doing this for a while, so it's easy for me now to hold both. And I realize when I'm really invested in the character and it's like, oh, no, 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 I'm going in. I'm going to feel this stress. I'm going to play in it. I'm going to buy into it. I'm in it. But at least I'm aware that I'm doing that. And that's the awareness. That's the practice. I'm aware that I'm at least going all the way in and fighting for the character Lori, who really believes that she's stressed out and needs to get this done ASAP. And, all these things depend on it. And the money she's spending is, gosh, I hope it comes back tenfold. And, all of that is very real. It gets to be here. It's the experience, it's the stage. And then when I say, wow, look at the character, Lori, you're playing right now. Yeah, I know. It's like imagining, Tony, that you're on stage and then the soul's like, yo, you're doing an incredible job. And you turn and you're like, bitch, I know that. Can I get back to my, can I get back to what I'm doing here as the role? Right. So you're not bypassing because you're allowing both. Or the human experience just is getting so rough and tumbled, and you're like, Jesus, I'm really, and then you're like, oh, wait, I remember I'm also soul. And then you look out in the audience and you're like, oh my God, hi, soul. Right. And you're like, that's right. I forgot. I'm you. Okay. Okay. I'm okay. Right. It's a great question, though, because it can be very confusing. So, because what we do as a human is it's black or white, it's one or the other, right? I'm either soul or I'm human, and one's good and one's bad. This is what we do all across the board with everything. And so, really pay attention to that. It's not black or white. It is not one or the other. It is both simultaneously. And that's what makes it so difficult. You do not get rid of emotion and thought. You do not get rid of behaviors. You do not get rid of the character. It's impossible. Kelly cannot get rid of Kelly. And that's the pain and the suffering and the struggle, because she doesn't want to be what she's in right now. She doesn't want to be her, but she's her in this most miraculous, gifted experience. And so the more that she can recognize she doesn't want to be who she is, and the more she says, well, is this really who I am? What if I am playing a role? What would that role look like? How attached am I to all the thoughts and behaviors? And you start to let in this soul that you've always been connected to. And it's just a belief that you haven't, because you have absolutely no idea with 100% certainty that you are not soul and that you're not connected to it. You have no idea, just a belief that you're holding. So the more that you can allow, just opening the window a little bit and a little bit and a little bit to this idea, this truth that soul is here with you, watching you and moving with you, and that it's an integration process. And the more that you are integrating with soul as soul, the more everything just gets to be here. The stage is the stage. The emotions are the emotions. The thought are the thoughts. The behaviors are the behaviors. The trauma is the trauma. The family is the family. The heartbreak is the heartbreak. The death is the death. The grief is the grief. Like everything is just right there. Like, holy cow, what else are you in? What else are you going through? Wow, my gosh. What's on your path right now on this stage that you're in? Realizing it's not you. It's the role, it's the human experience. Profound, it's humbling. Yeah, it's a great awareness, Mike. He says, you know, the character isn't everything. If you watch what happens when the soul moves on from someone when they pass, you realize, wow, this is just the character they played. And they're off now, experiencing a completely different, they just dropped in and played this character. And you realize the profound awareness that starts to happen when you get to actually physically live as soul in body, playing the character. This is what you're practicing. It's another level. It's a next level. It is not for the faint of heart. I've been speaking about this from day one. And all of these little practices that we do that create the stress or anxiety or bliss or happiness or peace or anything in between is simply just reminding you of how to physically be both soul and human character at the same time. If we were to put all 7.5 billion souls in a room together prior to incarnating, and we asked them all, what are you hoping for when you go down there? The majority of them as souls would say that I remember that I am soul, that my human character remembers that I am here, that I get to integrate my soul with the human character, and I get to fully be as human as soul, soul as human. And the majority of souls don't ever get there. The majority of souls that incarnate depart, and the human character has believed itself to be the human character. Nothing wrong with that, but it is very challenging, very rare, and very difficult for the soul to awaken the character so that the character can remember that it's soul. And then the greatest life begins to be lived because the human character has broken free from the illusion and the programming of the dense physical third dimensional reality that separates its awareness from who it actually is. And so it's one thing to read about this. It's one thing to listen to people talk about it, to conceptualize it, to understand it in logical mind sense. It's a whole other game when you start practicing being it, which is what you're doing every day right now in this class. It breaks you free. It changes your entire life. It's not easy. Most people aren't doing it. They don't know how. And it has absolutely nothing to do with leaving the stage. It has nothing to do with changing your thoughts or changing emotions. It has nothing to do with getting yourself into some high vibe space. If the character is still believing that it's the character and doesn't understand its soul, it doesn't matter how high vibe that character gets. It's still separated from illusion. It's the illusion is still there that it is the character. Until there are many characters on the stage playing the human role that is still in the illusion that that's who they are. but bypassing by creating some sort of alternate reality on the stage, still completely separate from who they actually are. Soul loves the human character. That's why it's here. It just wants to keep watching and watching and watching. It just wants to keep going in. What else is here? What other experiences can I have? What other foods can I eat? What other relationships can I have? Wow, is my heart going to get broken in this one, or is it going to expand and be in so much openness? Wow, am I going to get in more arguments with this person, or are we going to find some sort of resolution? Wow, is this person going to leave my life, or are we going to be able to figure this out? Wow, am I going to lose my job again? Having an opportunity to find another job? That's how soul sees the human experience. This is not about getting out of anything. This is about realizing that you are none of it and you are playing a most miraculous human role as a soul. So today's practice is this is who I am. This, not this is who I am. Is this who I am? Is this who I am? Is this who I am? And be gentle with yourselves. All of you, be so, so, so gentle with you. Whatever you're going through, however this is playing out, whatever it's bringing up for you, there are no mistakes. There are no mistakes you're in this class. There are no mistakes that you are thinking and feeling and being in all the experience that you are thinking, feeling, and being in right now. No mistake. Everything is a gift. Everything is just incredible soul waving you down, flagging you down, and your unique way in which you are experiencing this, courageously unraveling this, continuing to show up for this. I promise you is the gift in. It's the gift. So just show up, keep showing up. 10 more days with me. Don't give up. Come back tomorrow. Just do it. So far, you are realizing that every day is different and that this, it's the same thing as like, you're on a regimen to like run a marathon, okay? And you've got this routine, you've got to practice a schedule. And there are days where you're running and you want to quit, but you don't. There are days where you're running and it feels good. Either way, you know that you are continuing to show up because you're going towards something. It's the same thing with this awareness, enlightenment, awakening. It's not like butterflies and rainbows sitting in a field, love and light. No, it's a marathon. There are days where it's going to hurt. There are days where it's going to feel great. There are days where you're going to feel beat up and exhausted. There are days where you're going to feel so energized. It all gets to be here. If you are someone that has this idea that it needs to be beautiful and perfect and love and light, be aware of that because the process and journey of evolution and awakening is like a marathon that you are training for. And if you've ever trained for anything, you know that there are many ups and downs. And let the rest of your life be the up and down of you integrating soul with human character. I love you guys. I will see you tomorrow for day 12. The Q&A is tomorrow, the 18th of August at 4 p.m. So you'll get an email today, 24-hour reminder, and you'll get an email tomorrow, 1-hour reminder. But just in case, it is this exact same Zoom link, 4 p.m. California time. Is this who I am? Keep asking it. See you guys tomorrow. I love you. Mwah. If you can't join, email us and we will try to integrate your question. Bye, you guys.